So what's going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video where today we are back with a Zombies Q&A, the series where I take your questions from the comment section below to do with the zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and I answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. But let's get into it. Here we go and enjoy. So the first question of today from Landon2 says, what happened to the people in the Giant Origins robots? Well, we know that the 3 robots that we can find in the map, whose names are Freya, Odin and Thor, were built by Group 935. They actually don't have operators. There isn't anyone controlling them. They work using Element 115. So although they circle the Origins dig site, they always go across the same path. There isn't someone controlling them. If you go into the heads of the robots, inside here, you will find zombies. So these would have been Group 935 employees before they turned into the undead. How exactly they died up here is a bit of a mystery. Since the robots are created using Element 115, that's what keeps them running. And we know that when people are exposed to the element, that's when they turn into a zombie. But how they died once they became a zombie, we don't know. So yeah, to answer your question, what happened to the people in the Giant Origins robots? Well, they turned into zombies. How they died after becoming the undead, we don't know. The next question from Luca7755 says, hey BOA, why in standoff on Black Ops 2's multiplayer? Is there a sticky note that says zombies are coming? So yes, on BO2, this isn't only on standoff, you can find it on other multiplayer maps as well, but there is a zombies Easter egg in quotation marks, a sticky note that you can find. You can only really make out what it says when you zoom in with a sniper, but you can see here it says zombies are coming. Why? It's just a reference to the zombies mode, I guess. It doesn't mean anything. We know there are plenty of other zombies Easter eggs and multiplayer maps, such as Firing Range, or whatever the remade version was called. You can actually find holograms of the ray gun and the Sliquifier. We can also find statues of Primus in other multiplayer maps, so yeah, there's no meaning behind any of these zombies Easter eggs and multiplayer. It's just a reference to the mode. The next question says, hey BOA, I have a question. In the Pack-a-Punch room on Shadows of Evil, there are those walls that you can run along, and also what is on them. You can see paintings. Is it the Great War? So the first thing I want to say is, how the hell are our characters able to wall run? Logically, this makes no sense. These are random characters. They are not, I don't know, who'd be able to wall run? I guess, free runners or someone? Look, how are these normal characters able to wall run? I can't do that. I don't think they can. Something fishy going on here. Maybe there's something special about the gravity in this underground section of Shadows. Maybe there's something special about that wall. Is it super sticky if they become Spider-Man? So my first question, and the most important one, is how can they wall run? We have to get to the bottom of this. But getting to your question, what is on these walls? You are right when you say it is the Great War. It's very difficult to get pictures or screenshots of this wall unless you no-clip on PC. I only play on console, and since you can't free roam around this area, this is about the best I could get for you guys. But yeah, it's a depiction, is that the right word, of the Great War. We have the Apothicons on one side. On the right side, we can make out the Margwa, the Parasites, and then on the left we have the Keepers, the Knights of the Great War, and Primus. We've seen loads of different paintings of this over the years. We saw one in Kino der Toten where we can see Primus on one side versus the Apothicons. We've seen a cutscene of the Great War in the Alpha Omega trailer, but this was one of, if not maybe even the first, if I can remember correctly, time that we actually saw the Great War. Why this is down here underneath Morgue City? Well, we don't completely understand because we don't fully know what this underground section is. We believe it has something to do with the Apothicons because if you listen to the storyline in Shadows, the people that were living in Morgue City spoke about hearing chanting beneath them. Could that chanting have been the Apothicons? Could it have been the Keepers? Someone else? But we do know when we open up this section in game and the Shadow Man reveals himself to be evil, that is when the Apothicons are unleashed. That's when we see the giant octopus in the sky. So I would guess, since this underground section is also a city in itself, the Apothicons were staying here. That doesn't really tell us why there's a wall devoted to the Great War though, but there is. The next question says, what are the maps that were scrapped in COD Zombies? So it's impossible for me to know every single map that Treyarch would have thought up, decided to start making and then scrapped. But we can imagine that it would have been quite a lot. They're not just going to go with the first thing that comes to mind and then make that as the Zombies maps. They're going to come up with loads of different ideas for places to go, different dates and locations. So I can imagine that are hundreds of zombies maps they would have thought of and just not gone with them in the end. How far along the line they got with them, we're not sure, but we do know one zombies map, which was Paris, that was being worked on and was eventually replaced by Moon. Before I talk more about it, there was an interesting interview between Jason Blundell and another zombies YouTuber called Johnny J25, where he specifically asked Jason about the scrapped Paris zombies map, and Jason gave us back some very interesting information. So a little context before I show it you. Just before this, Johnny J and Jason are talking about a DLC 4 for World at War. As we know, we only got 3 DLCs, but it originally was supposed to have a 4th one, and that's where the interview kicks off.
Little known fact, or a fact that's kind of discussed a little bit, is we were starting to write stuff for a DLC 4 at the time as well, so create stuff as well, and that's where you'll hear about like Paris and Coast and a cinema, and that got re-adopted into Kino, and then the Coast map got turned into Call of the Dead, and then the Paris map got turned into Moon.
I've heard about that. I guess the Moon in the early stages was Paris, and then it got reworked into being on the Moon.
Well,
how do you make that jump?
So they you know, and it was a fantastic team. You know, it was a different kind of group of guys, but a fantastic team took it, and then just certain of the little ideas got moved. And I don't want to say it was just Paris, because it wasn't. Paris is a very different map, but Paris had the idea of a no man's land, and it had the Eiffel Tower, and then underneath that was a teleporter, and then there was the catacombs of Paris underneath that, and the idea was that you went into the kind of teleporter, and the Eiffel Tower was essentially a conduit for the power for it, and then you got transported to this middle of nowhere where the Pack-a-Punch was, and it was just zombies all coming at you, and there was no cover, and it was brutal.
So would say the zombies all coming at you, would that maybe be reworked into like the no man's land we had in Moon?
Yeah. So that was that idea that kind of moved over.
So we hear Jason say originally for DLC 4 back in World at War, Treyarch started to write up ideas for 3 different zombies maps. These were Coast, Paris, and a cinema. The cinema map obviously got turned into Kino der Toten, which we saw in the game after. That was a base map for Black Ops 1. The Coast map got turned into Call of the Dead. That was another map for Black Ops 1. And then Paris got turned into Moon. That was yet another Black Ops 1 map. So Paris was supposed to be DLC 4, DLC 4 never ended up happening, and sometime through its development, Paris was scrapped and instead was replaced by Moon, which was DLC 4 for Black Ops 1. It sounds kind of strange, but he tells us that Paris had the idea of a kind of no man's land. So there was the Eiffel Tower, underneath it was a teleporter, so the Eiffel Tower was kind of like a conduit, and then you could also go underneath the map into the catacombs. But you could stand on the teleporter, it would teleport you to no man's land, and there you would find the Pack-a-Punch. When you're at no man's land, you would be surrounded by zombies, you would have a certain time to Pack-a-Punch until, I assume, you were teleported back to Paris, or back to the main area. It's very obvious that the no man's land part of Paris got transferred over to Moon, because when you start off on Moon, that's no man's land. It seems like that part was taken from the Paris map, but the rest of it was scrapped. And I'm not gonna lie, it sounds pretty epic. The idea of the Eiffel Tower being a part of the teleporter, going into the catacombs, which would have been scary and cramped. You can actually find a picture of the Paris Zombies map in Derice. If you look on the corkboards, you can see right here it's difficult because this map came out in 2009, so obviously it's blurry, but we have a zombie here in front of the Eiffel Tower. This is evidence that it was in fact intended to be DLC 4. We can also see other zombies maps here, such as Call of the Dead, which Jason mentioned was originally Coast. We can see, I think that's Ascension. Pretty difficult to make the others out. There's also a cinema, which is Kino der Toten. But yeah, Paris was one of the scrapped zombies maps. For as long as I can remember, there's also been loads of rumours about other zombies maps. One of those was Atlantis. I remember this rumour going round all the way back in Black Ops 1 saying that sometime we are going to get an Atlantis zombies map. That never came. We've had custom maps like that, but to have an official one from Treyarch would have been epic. There have been references to it in Zombies, but we never got it as an actual map. Something that I was always suspicious about is in Classified, you can actually find this screen, and right here, you can see some dots pointing to the middle of the ocean. We don't know exactly what this is pointing to in Zombies, because there is no Zombies map that takes place here. Could this be Atlantis? Where is Atlantis actually supposed to be? I guess it depends on what you believe. And then another Zombies map that a lot of people talked about for a long time and said that we would be getting was Egypt, one that took place in the pyramids. But we have been to Egypt in Zombies. 9 takes place in Egypt. Our Victor's characters travelled through Egypt and past the pyramids on their way to Buried from Die Rise, but we never actually got a map there. I think us going through the pyramids, through those tight corridors, that would have been really cool as well. But yeah, those were just some rumours. However, Paris was an actual scrapped map. There would have been many more that we don't know about. So yeah, there we go. That is it. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating, of course, if you want to. If not, it's totally fine. Thank you guys for watching anyway. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos. Leave any questions you have in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, goodbye.